day of spring 2018. The boys of summer are finally back. Yes, indeed, our first of 4 spring training telecasts for the Braves. Tonight from Champion Stadium in Lake Buena Vista, Florida, it's the Braves and the Detroit Tigers. Hi again, friends. It's great to be back with you. Chip Carey along with Braves Hall of Famer Joe Simpson. Welcome to spring training, our first of 4 telecasts, as we mentioned. And partner, hard to believe, 1 week from today, the Braves get after it for real, and still some questions to be answered for Brian Snitker's club.
Yeah, but I think they're getting those questions whittled down a little bit. They already know they've got 4 guys in the rotation set. They're not sure that when they'll need a 5th starter, maybe a couple of weeks into the season. So that may give them the room to carry an extra guy on the bench. So there are several candidates for those bench spots still up for grabs, and it'll be interesting to see how things go this last week.
We'll get a look at one of the newest Braves. Brandon McCarthy gets the start for Brian Snitker. The show ponies are lined up and ready to leave the corral. It's game 1 of our spring training slate. We'll get to line up some more right after this.
Landmark Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
Beautiful night here in Kissimmee, Florida. It's a breezy night here outside of Orlando. 67 degrees here at Champion Stadium. And, Joe, the wind really howling. We'll see how Brandon McCarthy fares in our first look at him in Braves colors.
He's pitched well this spring, Chip, and coming over in that deal that sent Matt Kemp to the Dodgers. This guy's been around a while. He's 34 years old, 6'7", 235, out of Colorado Springs. 13th big league season. You're looking at some of his numbers. That's last year, 6-4, 3.98 ERA, but only 16 starts because he battled blisters on his fingers all year long. This guy has been a very good major league pitcher when they can keep him on the mound. You just got to stay healthy.
So let's see how McCarthy fares against the Detroit Tigers, who are off to a 9-13 start this spring. Leonis Martin has had a terrific spring for Detroit. He's going to lead off and play center field tonight. And Brandon McCarthy's first of the night is whacked down the right field line, fair, and headed for the right field corner. So Leonis Martin now with an 8-game hitting streak this spring, Joe. He's flirting with a .500 batting average, and for a Tiger team that's going to be in a rebuild mode in 2018, that's an encouraging sign. And here's their Toyota starting nine.
And they've needed somebody in center field for a couple of years. They're hoping he can fill that role on an everyday basis. Some familiar names in there with Amarista and Victor Martinez, certainly. James McCann, the catcher. And Mikey Matuku played really well in some part-time duty last year for the Tigers. This is an interesting lineup. They have a new manager you see right there in Ron Gardenhire and a new staff. They're looking to make some improvements on a season last year where they only won 64 games.
So Alexi Amarista is the Tigers shortstop tonight. The first to him is skied out of play. And he's behind no balls and a strike. Yeah, the Tigers 64-98 last season. Brad Ausmus relieved of his duties as their manager. Ron Gardenhire, the longtime manager of the Minnesota Twins, got the Tigers job. As this one's chopped towards second. Ozzie tried a backhand, couldn't come up with it. Martine's going to score the first run of the game, and the Tigers take a 1-0 lead.
Ought to go as a base hit. In between Chopper. Always had to try and smother it. He couldn't lay back on it. These first two plays are kind of what the Braves were working on all afternoon before batting practice. A lot of situational plays, how to handle it, relays. A lot of quick, hard work that went into their workout today.
So that was scored an error.
Ooh.
And Martine scores the first run, and that brings up Victor Martinez. This guy has been a big-time professional hitter for a long time. Victor Martinez, who lives here in Orlando in the offseason. He's the designated hitter for the Tigers this year. And that just missed outside for Victor. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Speaking of good players who, if they can just keep him in the lineup. Victor's had an excellent spring himself. 5 home runs.
Shift on for him. 3 infielders right side of the diamond, and that's fouled back. And McCarthy ahead, a ball and 2 strikes. No Miguel Cabrera for the Tigers tonight. A lot of rookies, a lot of minor league players have made the trek from Lakeland to Orlando for tonight's game. Maybe we'll see maybe we'll see Miguel Cabrera in a couple of days when the Braves and Tigers play yet again this spring. And little pop. Ozzie drifts into foul ground. He's got plenty of room to make the play, and there's the first out.
Brendan McCarthy's got a real good curveball. That's his stock and trade. That's always been a good out pitch for him, but he uses it more early in the count now than he did earlier in his career. His fastball's around 91, 92. Change up, works the ball, cuts it into lefties, sinks it away from right-handers a little bit. And he's also, according to the Braves, working on a slider a little bit as an out pitch. So we'll keep an eye on that tonight.
This is James McCann, the Tigers catcher. And McCarthy missed up and in. Yeah, you touched on Brandon earlier. This guy's an accomplished major league pitcher. He's got 68 career wins. It doesn't sound like a lot, but he's been hurt so often. Tommy John surgery. He's had shoulder problems. He's had shoulder blade problems. You mentioned the blister problems. I would assume the Braves want Brandon McCarthy to stay healthy, quite obviously, but if this guy can pitch like R.A. Dickey did last year and give the Braves 180 innings, they'd be dancing in the streets.
You bet. Good breaking ball there. He also got hit in the face with a line drive several years back when he was with Oakland. That hook.
He's ahead of McCann, a ball and 2 strikes. 1-0 Tigers, a hit and an error here in the top of the first. 6 wins for McCarthy last year with the Dodgers. 16 starts. Most starts for him in a year since 2014. And another breaking ball, and McCann didn't get it. Beauty. 2 outs.
Well, that wasn't early in the count. That was in the middle of the count, the end of the count to put him away. Very nice. Yeah, you mentioned that 2014 season. He had 32 starts that year, and that's really the only season in the big leagues where he's been able to have a full complement of starts. And that was with 2 different teams.
Nico Goodrum is the Tiger third baseman tonight. And that's skied out of play. Steve, right one. Well, as you mentioned, looks like the first 4 spots in rotation for the Braves are pretty much etched in stone right now. With the schedule being what it is, the Braves do have a break in that they won't need a 5th starter until our first road trip. And so the loss of Luis Gohara due to a couple of nagging injuries this spring has opened the door for others to maybe fill that spot or get Gohara healthy and back in the lineup. And that's hammered into the right field corner. That's going to bounce over the fence for a ground rule double. And Goodrum puts a charge into the ball against the wind and doubles. And Amarista will stop at third. Second and third, 2 outs.
He's had a good spring. 3 homers, 6 RBIs, and the fact the ball bounced out saved a run. That had a little too much of the plate. Belt high. Nice job by Goodrum to keep it fair, too. Terrific spring for him.
So let's see if McCarthy can pitch out a 2-out trouble here. Mikey Matuk is the hitter. He'll be the Tigers left fielder. Again, a very different looking Tiger team than the one that we saw last spring and early in the season last year. No Justin Verlander, he's now an Astro. No Justin Upton, he's now an Angel.
Ian Kinsler as well. And J.D. Martinez left early last year.
Another off-speed pitch. Beauty. 1 ball, 1 strike. It's the corner. And it's 1-2.
That's another. That was a fastball, but he's been trying to work a little more on his changeup too, to spot it as well. Tigers very high on this guy, and rightfully so.
Big chance to extend a 1-0 lead. Second and third, 2 outs. Wind howling toward the left field corner. Stride, and now took a nice piece of hitting to keep the at-bat alive here in the first inning.
Nice separation too from this fastball, which was 91 earlier, to that breaking ball, which was 78. Batting practice today looked like both teams were hitting on a Little League park.
So you folks in the berm and left, get your hands up just in case. As Matuk awaits 2-2. Sorry, they didn't get the inside corner. Full count. Did he go? Yes, he did. The breaking ball takes care of Matuk. Tigers cash in an unearned run and take a 1-0 lead after our first half inning at Kissimmee.
The face of a franchise.
Brave skipper Brian Snitker. Brian will be part of a very busy broadcast night for us. Brian will be joining us with the microphone a little bit later on during our game. We'll be joined by General Manager Alex Anthopoulos sometime during the second inning. We hope to talk to Brandon McCarthy and Freddie Freeman as well tonight as we see the Braves offense, Joe, for the first time this spring. There's the interview lineup, and the regular lineup features Ender Inciarte leading off again for the Braves tonight against Francisco Liriano, a well-traveled Major League left-handed starter. And first pitch hammered towards center. Leonys Martin broke back but recovered in time. A little pop takes care of Ender. There's the first out on one pitch.
Now, no chance to brag on Ender just yet, but we will next time around. Liriano, signed by the Tigers after spring training had started. Von Gardenhire had him way back in Minnesota when Liriano broke in. 34 years old, 6'2", big guy, 225 out of Dominican Republic. Braves have seen him the last couple of years with the Pirates.
Oh, we didn't get to brag on Ender, but we can brag on Ozzie Albies, can't
Okay.
he? What a spring he's had for the Braves here in Central Florida. Made his debut last August 1st, hit .286 and 6 home runs. He had a game this spring where he homered from both sides of the plate.
Yeah, just a couple of days ago. 3 stolen bases on the spring. In fact, the Braves have stolen a lot of bases this spring.
23 of them. A rope hit up the middle, a base hit. Joe Albies continues his excellent spring work. There's the first Atlanta hit. And this is something we hope to see a lot of. Guys on base in front of Freddie Freeman, who's up next.
Left that one up a little bit. Ozzie picked on it. Liriano can still run it up there in the low 90s. But that lineup you're looking at tonight, chance to see some guys who certainly will be in their opening night against the Phillies a week from tomorrow night.
So here's Freddie. And he takes a called strike. I think it's safe to say Freddie's ready to go.
He talked today. I said something about, hey, sure would be nice to see you play about 160 games this year. And he said 162. I've missed too many the last couple of years.
117 last year after Freddie was hit by a pitch when the Braves faced the Blue Jays.
And was having a great start to his year.
Pretty good lead by Albies at first. Left-hander on the mound. Let's see if he gets a good jump with Freeman up. And that's inside.
You mentioned the 23 stolen bases. The Braves are 23 for 26 in stolen bases this spring. So already perhaps some influence from the new first base coach, Eric Young. He himself a terrific base stealer in his big league career.
Yeah, Eric, part of a revamped Braves coaching staff. Showed Walt Weiss earlier. Eric Young, the first base coach. Walt is the Braves bench coach. Sal Fasano is the Braves new catching instructor, who's earned rave reviews this spring. As a 2-2 pitch. Breaking ball, a beauty.
Must have been 3-1.
Yep.
Either that or Freddie talked Laz Diaz into another pitch somehow.
Well, you said he's missed so much time. He's got to make up for it. Full count. Albies not going. And Freddie bounces it foul and out of play. You mentioned the stolen bases. This is our first chance to see the Braves so far this spring. But as you look at the projected lineup on paper, this is a Braves team that does not possess a lot of power other than Freddie Freeman. Do you think that stolen base weapon is something the Braves will use a lot more frequently this year to try to help manufacture more runs?
Well, it has to in this regard, because they have more athletes. They have better athleticism than they've had in the last couple of years. So they've up and down the lineup, they've got more guys who can steal a base once in a while when they need to. more importantly, they've got guys who can go first to third more often to set up a big inning.
So Freddie draws a walk. 2 are on for Kurt Suzuki. The Braves catching tandem. He and Tyler Flowers will be back in harness in 2018. And he and Tyler Flowers split the catching duties for the Braves last year just about as well as you can. Suzuki hit 19 home runs, did that in 81 games. See if he can put a charge into one here in the first. So he's had high batting average so far here in Florida. And he takes downstairs, ball 1. Up and away, 2 balls, no strikes. Yeah, the Braves catching tandem of Suzuki and Flowers last year. Excellent, excellent work.
If it were just one guy that put together 31 homers and 90-plus RBIs, everybody would be talking about them from an all-star perspective for this year. So the fact they were able to do it in a combo fashion is pretty amazing. 98 RBIs between them. Great on base, excellent slugging, good work by both. Tyler's had a slow spring. I asked him today if he was ready to go, and he put his thumb and index finger close together. He said, I still got a little work to do.
There's a fast strike, 3-1 to Suzuki.
But the hitting coach, Kevin Seitzer, said, with that exception, everybody has looked really good and is really, I'll say, tuning up their swing here for the last week, ready to go.
Another walk, back-to-back walks of Freeman and Suzuki, loads him up for Nick Markakis.
Number 22, Nick Markakis.
Well, it was a perfect spot for Nick, team leader in RBIs last year. Knocked in 76 of them. 3 Braves aboard for him here in the first inning. One of Nick's highlights last year, hit number 2,000 in a Braves uniform last August 3rd. And he takes a strike.
Well, because of the injury to Freeman and Freddie missing so much time, the guy who actually led the team in RBIs was Nick Markakis, who was very steady, only missed a handful of games all year long, but Nick drove in 76 runs to lead the team, and that was one of the lowest numbers in the last 20 years for the Atlanta Braves for a team leader. So it goes back to the need to have Freddie Freeman in there every day.
2 quick strikes from Liriano. Lefty-lefty matchup with Markakis. Snap throw to third. And Ozzie back safely.
Plus third base umpire Jerry Lane to hustle. He's in spring training shape too.
One ball, 2 strikes. Something off speed just got Markakis. So after the back-to-back walks, big strike out of Braves right fielder for the second out.
Here's an interesting guy when it comes to the final roster. Preston Tucker, who's a guy who the Braves acquired in the offseason from Houston. Can really swing the bat, has put up big numbers even at the big league level when he's had some opportunities. It's a matter of him working on his outfield defense to tighten that up a little bit, but they really like his bat.
He's got him in a cash deal from the Astros. The 2 walks, all of a sudden, Liriano's a strike-throwing machine. 0-2. Yeah, left field's one of the jobs that's open for the Braves. With Ronald Acuna sent back to minor league camp the other day. Subject about which we'll speak with Alex Anthopoulos in just a few moments. Lane Adams in that discussion. Danny Santana's in that discussion. Preston Tucker is in that discussion for the Braves here in the final week. A lot of pitches for Liriano here in the first. The 1-2 count. And another off-speed pitch. And how about Liriano wiggling off the hook? Loads the bases with a couple of walks, then ends the frame with a couple of strikeouts, and he protects a 1-0 lead. By Delta Airlines, by Landmark Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, and by Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. A refreshing night in Orlando. 1-0 Detroit after 1 inning. Brandon McCarthy tossed 21 pitches in his first frame tonight. Gave up an unearned run. Now he's got the 7, 8, 9 hitters coming up for the Tigers here in the second. First man up, Jim Adducci, their first baseman. There's that breaking ball again for Brandon McCarthy.
Good spot.
Adducci's gotten a lot of at-bats this spring for the Tigers. This is his 34th. He's got 10 hits, a couple of homers. This one's grounded to second, and Ozzy's got that. McCarthy will get the ball on the ground when he's right. There's out number 1. That'll bring up Victor Reyes. He's the Tigers' right fielder. Reyes, then Rodriguez in the Detroit second.
Tigers open up at home a week from tomorrow against the Pirates.
Opening day, late March, Comerica Park.
Got a chance you're going to need long sleeves. Just saying, there's a chance.
Yeah, there's a chance, no doubt. Way upstairs. And Reyes now.
I was interested in reading a story the other day about an interview with Ted Barrett, the veteran umpire, and all the changes that have come along in baseball in recent years and how they've impacted umpiring.
Freeman handles the chopper. Race to the bag. And McCarthy got there just in the nick of time. Good play, 2 out.
Nice play. One of the questions asked of Ted Barrett was, would he rather umpire a game in cold weather or hot weather? And he said, probably cold weather because you can layer up. Hot weather, there's just no place to go. Braves' first road trip will be to Denver first week of April, so they'll get an opportunity to decide if they like playing in cold weather more than likely.
You know, it's the old history repeats itself. Road trip. That's
Yeah.
the Iditarod 2.
Yes, it is.
Little chopper. Tough play. Glove, grab, gun, and on the short hop, Freeman comes up, and Ronnie Rodriguez is robbed. 4 out, number 3. Good play by Rio Ruiz. 3 up, 3 down in the Tigers' second.
Hands go here.
Actually was I went to Alex Wood's wedding, and obviously that's all Dodgers that were there, and he was there for the last couple of years. And Justin Turner, to every single person that was there, told me that he was the greatest guy ever. You're gonna love him, and they were right on. He is very personable. You can tell him anything, and he's gonna try and do everything you can. And he's made some moves that's gonna benefit us in the long term here. So my first impression has been great. So I'm hoping he can keep going.
Well, one thing we know, Joe, is that Freddie Freeman can read a script. Way to go, Alex. That was
yeah. Can he ever? Man, nailed it to a T. I was going to tell him. That's, look, and like he said, one, I'm kind of really shocked by that. It's nice. I also realize I'm sure there's going to be plenty of times where he's not a big fan. Some of the decisions that we're going to have to make over time, but I'm glad to have him.
Well, it's good that this week you didn't have to make any tough ones.
No, it's quiet week. Still trying to get down who's going to play left field, things like that. You know?
Well, I know that was a hard one.
Oh, yeah.
What ultimately helped tip the scales on your decision on Ronald Acuna Jr.?
Yeah, look, one, he had a great camp. I mean, there's no denying that. I'd never seen him. I'd heard how good he was, and then you get to see him up close. Obviously, you saw the tools that run, throw, power, all that kind of stuff. You know, the one thing I remarked when I got here was the talent level in the minors was unbelievable. With Ronald specifically, I was amazed at how quickly he moved through. He didn't spend a whole lot of time at high A ball, double A, and so on. And our lean coming into camp was to give him a little bit more time, but we weren't going to make the decision until we had to. So, a tough one. He's going to be up here soon. If he continues doing what we saw here, gets into the flow of playing day in and day out, the goal is for him to be up here and be up here to stay and not have to go up and down.
Well, his numbers this spring would lead you to believe that all the published hype is well-founded.
You know what? And that's the, look. There's no denying he looked great. The spring training numbers. There's times that you buy into them. There's times that you don't. You know, the tools and the talent are there. So I'm not saying I don't buy into them at all because I see the talent that's there. The one thing you don't know is no one's preparing for you. No one's advancing. Look, I think he's a great talent. He has holes. I don't know what they are yet. I haven't seen them yet. But I know he has holes. I mean, he did strike out some in the minors and so on. But that being said, he still has all the talent in the world to be a great player. So once the lights come on, you're playing every day. It's big league, guys on the mound. There's an advance report and so on. He's going to have to adjust. I mean, there's very few guys that come up here and hit the ground running and don't look back. So we have every confidence in the world that he will, and he'll have a long, great career. But, you know, that said, you know, a little bit more time has never hurt any player.
Fans in Atlanta, and I'm one of them, you know, we're just getting to know you and trying to learn, you know, what your style or go Rio.
Rio
Rio,
launches
I like
toward
that.
deep center. That ball is off the warning track, off the base of the wall. Dansby's getting a green light around third. Here comes the relay. It won't be made. Braves tie the game on a ringing double from Rio Ruiz.
I'll get back to my question in a second. Rio's had a real good last couple of weeks after some tweaking on his swing with Kevin Seitzer.
No doubt. I mean, he started out real rough early, and he'd made some swing changes. You know, the little meeting him, I got to meet every player obviously early on. We met with everybody before game started, and really impressed just to talk to him. You know, the big thing that I had heard coming in, he'd always been able to hit. It was just defensively improving range and things like that. But you loved seeing players that really sprint to the end. So he started out slowly, a lot of swing and miss early. But the last 5 or 6 games or so, he's really swinging the bat well. The game in Clearwater, tonight left. Great to see. So he's a guy that there's some upside, and we'd love to see him really emerge.
Alex, one of the things we talked about when I met you at Joe's Hall of Fame induction for the Braves was the difficult seat you're in this regard. You're new to the organization. You've read all the prospect charts. You've seen them from afar. Now you've had a chance to watch them play for the last 5-6 weeks here in Orlando. I would assume you have a much better grasp of what the Braves have and what they don't have from a young player and, frankly, organizational standpoint now.
Definitely. From where I was in the winter to now, I have a scouting background, so I'm always going to look through that lens. You know, a lot gets made of the numbers and the data, and I take a look at that stuff as well. I like to try to combine what I see with my eyes to see if it does add up from the analytics standpoint, but I definitely feel a lot better. I think the big thing was just getting around some of these guys. When you sit down with them and you ask them about their game, notice things, ask them to explain things you may have observed, and you get some insight into their aptitude and the way they're wired, the way they think, it can increase their value in your mind, or also maybe you may not feel as strongly about those players. So the makeup component, the character component, the aptitude component is really important. And then watching these guys day in and day out, seeing their tools is obviously going to be great as well.
The question I had, I think you just answered it. I think that had to do with scouting versus analytics and where you put the most weight. Sounds like you've got a pretty good balance on that.
Yeah, I think I think the human element is extremely important. I think there's so many teams right now that are relying upon and using all the data that's out there. So we're not going to ignore it. One, we use it for ourselves. Two, it gives you a sense of how other teams might view players. That said, I think a competitive advantage is because everyone has this data, the human element. If you have a set of eyes, knowledge, you have a coach that can get through to a player. I mean, we've all seen guys make changes to their game, whether it's deliveries, swings. That's mostly not from a data standpoint. Data may point out a flaw, but a coach and a player and athleticism and aptitude, that's what's going to lead to be able to make a change adjustment. So I definitely feel strongly in combining both. And, you know, from that perspective, I think we've done a good job this spring.
All I hear, and this is obviously our first broadcast, but everything I hear is the energy level is up so high right now with this organization and with this club that's still in camp. That has to start at the top, and the feeling that everybody, the confidence that everybody has with you and your staff in place, but also with what turns out to be a somewhat new staff for Brian Snitker too.
No doubt. And I think all of us need to pull together. I do think the manager sets the tone for those guys down there. I'm not down there every day. He's the one that sets the tone. Staff, the guys that were at it, I can't speak to what went on in the past. it's great to hear from that perspective. I think young players will always bring that, no matter what. It's a, Snit talked about it as well. It's as young a camp as the Braves have had here. So I think we've always seen it late in the year. Young players come up, they bring life, they bring a lot of energy, and there's a lot of competition as well. So I think that certainly helps. And it's a reflection of the job that scouting and player development is done here.
So as a man who tries to marry analytics versus the eye test of a scout, you have seen this team every day for the last 6 weeks. What do the numbers and your eyes tell you about the 2018 Braves team that we're seeing tonight?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway so far this spring, one, we've done some things from a defensive standpoint, the way we're positioning the outfield, the infield. It's easy to call him up, but a guy like Ender Inciarte, back-to-back Gold Gloves, should not have any, should be completely willing, and we'd be fine with him saying, I don't need any more information, I don't need to get better, I'm already as good as it gets. And his positioning is unbelievable. He's taken the information and run with it, and that tells you a lot about him. A guy that's already great at his position, still wants to get better. I think the staff, from Brian to Wash to EY to everybody else, they've embraced all that. So I'm encouraged from a positioning standpoint what we've done. And the other components, I think the starting rotation has done a great job. I know it's spring training and things do change when the bell rings, but we have been encouraged with what's been done. I think there's been total buy-in by everybody. It's just some of the information we're presenting. And we're not ramming it down at anybody's throat. We're just presenting it, and it's up to them to apply what they want to apply. So I'm very excited about that there's been total organizational buy-in, and it's pretty exciting.
Ozzie Albies the batter. Ozzie singled his first time up. First and third for the Braves have tied the game 1-1. Liriano's having some control trouble. He's walked 4 times. Braves done a good job of drawing base on balls in the past. That's a similar trend for Kevin Seitzer. Braves usually put the ball in play. Let's see what Albies does here in the Braves' second inning. This guy's fun to watch, isn't he?
No doubt. He's like a little tank, a little spark plug, but he walks around like he's 6'10", 300. And I mean that in a great way.
Yeah.
Chest out, chin up, and smile on his face, but not in an arrogant way. There's a confidence to him. And again, the little I've been around him, I could see him developing into a guy who's going to lead here at some point soon.
Little chopper to short, and Albies out on a bang-bang play at first, and that's going to end the Braves' second inning. Alex, always a treat to have you join us. Good
Anytime.
luck. Appreciate it.
Always
All right,
welcome.
guys, appreciate it.
Alex Anthopoulos, Braves general manager. We're tied 1-1 after 2 here at Disney. As we head to the top of the third inning, Chip and Joe with you for the first time. We mentioned earlier Brandon McCarthy appears to be etched in stone as one of the first 4 starters for the Braves in rotation. The starting 4 is tonight's SunTrust Confidence Play of the game.
And they have all pitched well this spring. Brandon, as you said, gave up the unearned run tonight, but Julio Teheran pitched into the 7th inning his last time out. Mike Foltynewicz has had a complete renaissance with the way he's pitching, trying to throw more strikes and be more of a pitcher and not a thrower. And Sean Newcomb has had a great camp. He has, it's almost like he was at the top of the hill among the young pitchers, asking anybody to come try to knock him off the hill, and nobody could.
So those are the first 4. The Braves won't need a 5th starter until the Braves make their way to Washington in the middle leg of the first 3-city road trip of the year, which begins in Denver. When the Braves fly cross country to play the Nationals, then zip back to the Midwest to play the Cubs at Wrigley Field. Leonis Martin skies one toward left. Tucker, long run, won't get there as that'll bounce into the berm. And the count 2-1 to the Tigers center fielder.
First chance for me to visit with Alex Anthopoulos and learn a few things about what he believes in and how he makes analyses. And I'm very happy to hear the eyeball test thing, you know. This old school, old guy, you know. And I know the numbers are important. I know the analytics are there. But sometimes you got to put eyes on somebody, too, to see if that all meshes.
And the buy-in part from top to bottom of the organization is so nice to hear. Everybody appears to be on the same page with Alex and his new staff. And two, to reiterate, it can't be easy for him in this regard. You take over as general manager of a farm system that's been rated at or near the top for the last couple of years. You want to come in and make a positive impression. You know the Braves have had their share of struggles the last 4 years with 90+ loss seasons. I'm sure he's itching to make a significant deal, which he has done in the past, as we know from his days with Toronto. But not knowing, with that eyeball test you talked about, exactly what you have, I would think Alex has been kind of hamstrung in that regard. Strike over the outside corner, and Martin disagrees with Las Diaz. It's out number 1 here in the 3rd inning.
Yeah, he's given that outside corner. Remember, there's a call on Tucker earlier that Forrest didn't like, or Preston, excuse me, didn't like, but that was in about the same spot.
Beautiful frame job by Suzuki as Alexi Amarista reaches the batter's box. He reached on an E4 back in the Tigers' first. First chance for Tucker in left. Bright sunshine in the wind, and he makes the catch for the 2nd out. So 2 up, 2 down. McCarthy set down the last 6. Victor Martinez is the Tiger hitter. We'll welcome our friends in Motor City watching us on Fox Sports Detroit tonight. Joe Simpson, Chip Carey, our great Fox Sports South crew, anchored by our producer Brian Woodrum tonight. Chris Bosio in his first season as the Tigers pitching coach, had great success with the Cubs, part of Ron Gardenhire's first-year staff in Detroit. And I mentioned earlier, Ron Gardenhire, kind of an outlier hire in this regard. Mentioned all those years that Ron skippered the Minnesota Twins, and quite successfully. So many managers today have never managed before, getting their first major league job. Can't say that about Ron Gardenhire.
No, sir.
He truly is a graybeard manager.
Well, the guy he replaced was one of those first-time managers in Brad Ausmus. And this is no knock on Brad Ausmus. He certainly did a good job for them, got them to the postseason a couple of times. But if you're in a rebuild and you've got a lot of young players, you need a manager with some patience and some experience, and they've got a good one there.
1 ball, 1 strike. Victor Martinez scalds one toward left. Tucker on the run, and Brandon McCarthy has another perfect 3rd inning. He is set down 7 straight. Looks to see if the Braves can give him a lead when we come right back. Available for opening day Thursday, March 29th, when the Braves take on the Phillies. It's a day at SunTrust Park you don't want to miss. Get your seats for opening day today at braves.com/tickets. And if you like seeing the Braves play the Phillies, then April is going to be your month.
You know it. March and April, kind of crazy. One of those scheduling quirks. 9 games against the Phillies in the first 29 games the Braves play.
And Braves owe the Phillies a little payback, don't you think?
Yeah, it was kind of ugly last year.
As Freddie Freeman leads off the Braves 30, earned the first of 4 walks issued by Francisco Liriano so far in the game. This one's popped into left. Matuk is there and has no trouble. There's the first out.
The Braves were 20-18 last year against the Nationals and the Marlins. But against the Mets and the Phillies, they were 13-25.
That's not too good.
Nah. Got to figure out a way to beat up on the Mets and Phillies.
Well, as far as the Braves and Phillies are concerned, March and April will be a great barometer month for both teams, as Braves and Phillies have been in rebuild mode for the last couple of years to see where they rank against each other first. And the Phillies made a big splash, a couple of them. Carlos Santana to play first base for them, and Jake Arrieta signed from the Cubs.
Which I think tells you that the Phillies feel they're very close to completing their rebuild and want to compete. Position player and obviously a stalwart for their rotation. They've got some good arms in their rotation already.
With Vasquez and Aaron Nola among others. Reese Hoskins was terrific.
Zach Eflin
in the outfield. So yeah, the Phillies will be a tough bunch in an Eastern Division, Joe, that on paper looks to be a little better, if not significantly so, with what appears to be a resurgent Mets team and their starting staff healthy.
Yeah, and unfortunately, one of the teams, the Marlins, has really taken a steep decline in talent level. Remains to be seen how many games they can win with what they have, but boy, they really took a broom to that team.
Yelich gone, Ozuna gone, Stanton gone, among others. But a new ownership group committed to trying to get it right and sustainable long term down in South Florida. See how it works out for Derek Jeter and company. As Kurt Suzuki didn't get it. And Liriano strikes him out. That's his third of the game. Kind of a feast or famine game for Liriano. 3 strikeouts but 4 walks for him in a 1-1 game. And a lot of pitches, 53 of them.
That's kind of what you get with Liriano. You could have a game where he's going to strike out 10, but you might have a game where he doesn't get out of the 5th inning and he's walked 6. So you're just hoping it's more the former.
Made some of his best pitches in the game to Nick Markakis, who batted with the bases loaded in the first, and Nick goes down on strikes. A swinging bunt rolled foul and out of play for a strike. Hard to believe this is Nick's 4th year in a Braves uniform in 2018, and you can go ahead and write it down now. 170 to 190 hits, 30 to 35 doubles, 9-10 home runs, maybe more, and as you mentioned, 70 to 85 RBIs for him.
Automatic. He's fashioning a new look too. What do the players call it when they've got longer hair? Wave or
flow?
Flow, thank you. Nick's got some flow work.
No balls, 2 strikes. Markakis slaps it to left. What a piece of hitting on an 0-2 count. Liriano tried to get him to chase down and away, and Markakis had the plate covered and bloops a single with 2 outs.
I've seen that before. Oh, man. Could barely reach it.
So the inning stays alive for Preston Tucker. Preston's a Florida boy, if memory serves.
Several good tests tonight for guys who might be on the proverbial bubble, including Tucker or Rio Ruiz in terms of those spots on the bench because of having to face a tough lefty on lefty.
I would think Rio's case has helped because Johan Camargo's out.
Yeah, he's been missed for about 8 days or so with an oblique strain, and they're trying to be very cautious about his return. I did see him taking some ground balls today.
Line into right center field. That's going to roll for a while. Markakis on his way to third. He's going to get the green light to score. Preston Tucker with a lightning bolt to right center puts the Braves in front. Another very successful lefty-lefty matchup for the Braves offense.
Boy, did the ball jump off his bat. So after 2 quick outs, a little dink by Markakis and then a rocket by Tucker.
Yeah, Tucker from Plant High School in Tampa and the University of Florida. Continues his good spring, so Atlanta leads. And Dansby Swanson, the batter. Dansby walked and scored back in the Atlanta second.
Tucker last year in AAA for the Astros hit 24 homers, drove in 96 runs.
If you're a young position player, that's probably not the best organization to be a part of, with all due respect.
Not right now.
As loaded as the world champs are. Pitch backed up and Dansby took it. 2 strikes.
Dansby's had a decent spring, one that he's been trying to tweak some things with his swing. Kevin Seitzer was talking to me about him this morning, about how last year it seemed like Dansby, if you're watching from center field, his hands would disappear behind his body, almost behind his right shoulder, which created a bit of a long swing, which also turned out he was having trouble catching up to fastballs on many occasions. So he's starting with his hands a little more in front of him and then raising them up kind of right in front of his right shoulder to get started. And Kevin said if we can just get him to stop thinking about pulling the ball, especially in hitters' counts, and then rolling over, maybe being fooled and trying to start too early, if we can kind of get that ironed out, he's going to be on his way.
Good eye there. It's full count. Well, you know what 2017 bore for Dansby Swanson last year. Talked to him at length before the game tonight. He's in a great place mentally, feels good this spring. And he's walked for the second time. Good eye. Liriano didn't get the call on a close pitch.
That was a good eye on a changeup, 3-2 change.
So 5 walks for Liriano in the game. Rio Ruiz, the batter, he doubled home the game's first run for Atlanta back in the second. Rio's will be 24 years old in late May. Hit 20 home runs between AAA and the big leagues last year, 4 of them with Atlanta. His first against Max Scherzer of the Washington Nationals on May the 20th. And again, with Johan Camargo battling that back or oblique issue, jury's out as to whether he'll be ready to go on opening day. If not, Braves fortunate to have a guy in Rio Ruiz who could play third base.
So hard for a guy like Johan Camargo to suffer an injury like this late in spring training when you're staring at your first opening day and a lot of people counting on you to be the everyday guy.
Mile high pop. Rodriguez gives way to Reyes, and the wind pushes that out toward right center, but he stays with it, makes the play. And the Braves settle for 1 in the third. They lead it 2-1. Atlanta leads the Tigers. Brandon McCarthy's in a nice groove, thrown 20 pitches or so over his last couple of innings, and there's the smiling face of the Braves skipper, Brian Snitker, who's seen his share of terrific pitching performances this spring here in Orlando. Snit, great to see you, man.
Good to see you guys. Welcome.
Thank you. Got to ease into this, you know.
Yeah, I know we're way eased in.
Yeah, right. Week to go. Your thoughts on what you've seen, what you'd like to see here over the final 7 days?
Well, it's been like I talked to you guys earlier. It's been a great camp. The guys have, I think the players have done a great job. They've come out every day, done everything we've asked them to do. We kind of changed things up this year and changed the program a lot. And you know, guys have bought in. They've been really good. The work ethic, the energy, commitment to what we're doing has been really good, and I'm really happy with the way the whole camp went.
Brian, I was talking to Ronnie Washington when I first got here, and one of the things he said to me right away was, he said, I think you're going to love what you see in terms of the improvement some of these young players have made.
Yeah, I agree. You know, position players, I mean, you come in here, and I think, you know, Ozzy's come in and his really first big league camp as a regular, and it just keeps getting better. I mean, I was really pleased with what I saw out of him last year. You know, Dansby, coming off a tough year, has come in and he's had a great attitude. He's you know, playing with a lot of confidence. I think just kind of letting himself go. It's a shame Johan Camargo tweaked his back a little bit, and he's going to start the year on the DL, so we're going to try and get him ready. But he was doing really well. I mean, he had went winter ball, had another successful winter ball, and came in and was playing really well. You know, and you know, left field right now, we're kind of still having auditions. We got Preston Tucker, who's had a really good offensive year. Danny Santana went through waivers, came back as a non-roster, and has had a really good camp. We got Ezekiel Carrera from the Blue Jays, who I've seen over the years, played left field for the Blue Jays last year when we played them, who's, you know, got a kid that's had some success in the major league. So we're still kind of looking at our options there. Because of Camargo, we're going to give, I'm going to play Rio quite a bit. Rio's really improved. I mean, he's a kid that just continues to get better, as you saw. I mean, he's hit a couple of homers off lefties, you know, smoked that ball in the second inning, and is just a kid that just keeps getting better. So,
yeah, let's talk about him for a second, because Kevin Seitzer was talking about how he had, on his own, made some changes to his swing in the offseason. Came to camp, was striking out about, you know, I think it was like 8 out of his first 10 at bats or something. And then he and Kevin went to work, and as Kevin said, we did some modifications, but Rio is certainly open and has the aptitude to say, hey, okay, what do I need to do to get better? And that seems to work the same way with a lot of these young
Well,
guys.
yeah. I mean, for some reason, all these guys getting these, they hear, you know, one or two guys that go out and get hire these private guys, and they go, and you know, my response to Rio was, Rio, you didn't have a bad year last year. You did pretty good, actually. And they want to change things and try. So to his credit, if they made the adjustments, that's great, because of late he's been swinging the bat pretty good. So, you know, there's a lot of things. Sean Newcomb, as we talk about the young guys, I would say a year ago today, he's not even the same guy right now. He's had a really good spring. Fulte's made some adjustments in delivery and mindset and the whole thing. I think the analytical move has helped him in the information that they've had for him. He threw on the backfield today and was really good. Brandon McCarthy's been a really good get for us. He's been really steady and strong all spring. Julio's been really good. You know, they have all been pretty good. I'm sitting here, I'm listening to myself talk, and it's like, I guess they are good.
Fly ball hammered toward left. Tucker on the run, still going, not going to get it. It's a home run for Matuk, and that ties the game at 2 apiece.
Never fails. Every time I come up here, there's a home run hit while I'm standing.
Way to go.
You know. Yeah, we'll be lucky there's not more with the way this wind's gushing around.
Right, that's the truth. Let's talk about your bullpen.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about position players and starters. What about your bullpen?
Well, you know, we got Viz back. He's healthy, which is good. We got a lot of these guys off rehab that they were on last year. You know, I could start looking, and we had a lot of guys in our bullpen last year that were on rehab years that we had to be careful of. You know, if you got him up, you needed to get him in. You couldn't pitch him back to back. Well, there's a lot of restrictions on guys that were coming off injuries. A.J. Minter's thrown the ball extremely well this spring. Again, he's coming in from a normal offseason, and really counting heavily on him. Jose Ramirez has had a good spring. Sam Freeman has come in and kind of picked up right where he left off last year. We added Peter Moylan to our bullpen this year.
Snit?
You know,
Hey,
yes, sir.
Snit, I got to interrupt your filibuster. Can you stay with us another half inning?
Absolutely.
Okay, hang on.
Absolutely.
Brian Snicker, 2-2 your score. Bullpen before we went to break.
Yeah, you got to realize my family just left, so I've kind of been muted while I've been home the last few weeks.
So, talk about your pen. Let's first talk about the makeup of the pen. You've got a couple of off days in the first couple of weeks.
Right.
Is that going to affect the bullpen numbers you utilize on opening day?
Well, I'll probably stay the same numbers with the bullpen. We'll just go without the 5th starter until we need it, I think, April 10th in Washington. We'll probably stay with the 8-man guys, just because we're still, you know, as optimistic and everything as we are. There's still, you know, the guys, you know, Newcomb, Fulte coming off the year. Yeah, I expect them guys to do really good, but where we're going, teams we're going to play, I think having the additional bullpen guy, and then, you know, still we'll be able to have a normal bench. So everything will kind of be normal until we get the to that fifth starter, and then we'll probably trim a position player.
Brian, I want to go back to the young pitchers. What were your impressions this spring in big league camp for guys like Max Fried, Colby Allard, Kyle Wright, Soroka, on and on? What did you see and what did you like?
Very impressive out of all those guys. Soroka, I'll take the first. I mean, this kid, you know, it's if we didn't send him out, I'd have probably hidden him somewhere to have him with us. He's a very impressive young man. I mean, he's way beyond his years maturity-wise, you know. And looking at him and watching pitch and talking to some guys, it might have even played up a little bit off last year. But he's got a lot of confidence, knows what he's doing, is going to be a young big leaguer. Didn't see a whole lot of Kyle Wright, but really impressed with this young man. I know Bobby and I were in a cart one day watching a site, and we're sitting there looking at each other. It's like, man, that looks like a big leaguer. You know what I mean? The way he went about it. And what little I saw, I mean, again, I think the biggest thing with Kyle is just getting him into pro ball and acclimating him to what we go through in the routine of starting and, you know, the extra throwing that you do as a professional. Max had a good camp. Colby Allard probably was, you know, you're really impressed with this kid. I think he might have been out there trying to do too much at times. The brief stint that he had here, but really like everything he brings. You talk to these kids, they're special just because you can have a conversation. They're mature. They're very confident in their abilities, and they're all going to be really, really good major league pitchers, you know, down the road.
Snit, I know we all understand the business of baseball, but the baseball side of baseball had to break your heart that Ronald Acuna was sent to AAA or to minor league camp earlier this week, but I would assume the numbers he put up lead you to believe it's not going to be a long stay down there.
That would, you know, I mean, I said last year, if you want to get right down to it, I was as impressed with him last year as I was this year. I mean, he was a fence jumper last year, and you know, I used to tell them guys over there, if you don't want me to play him, don't send him, because I'm going to hit him high in the lineup, and he's going to play because I like watching him. And he didn't disappoint this spring either. I mean, he's a very talented young man. Has just the tools are off the roof. Seems like a really grounded, mature young kid too. Loves a lot of energy. Loves to play baseball. Which, when you're that good, why wouldn't you like to play it? I mean, and so the extra experience, you know, with the meteoric rise that he had through the minor leagues, I think this spring won't hurt him a bit, and hopefully when the time comes, he's ready. And like Alex was saying, I think it's a big situation where when we bring him up, we want to make sure he's ready, so we don't have to send him back. And you know, so I don't think it'll be long.
I sent you a picture early in spring training of Ronald Acuna on a home run that he had hit against the Yankees. And when you put that picture side by side with Andrew Jones, there's a very similar look, isn't there?
Well, yeah, and I remember I text back to you a spitting image.
Yeah.
And you know, and in talking to people, it's like, you know, we have some really good players that we've developed in this organization to compare these guys to. We didn't have, you know, when those guys came through, Andrew, Chipper, Glav, David Justa, you know, the Lemmer, Blouse, all those guys. You know, that was our first go with a lot of those guys. So now we compare them all.
Well, Snit, we appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you again on Friday night, and can't wait to get started up in Atlanta.
All right, guys. Always a pleasure, and glad to see you guys too. Thanks,
Brian.
Victor Reyes will lead off for the Tigers in a 2-2 game after 4 innings. Brandon McCarthy threw 20 some odd pitches in the first inning. Joe, he's thrown 31 since. Very economical. 1 point retired 9 in a row, and then the 2 home run tied it up at 2 apiece.
Well, he's done a good job of spotting his fastball. As advertised, his curveball has been outstanding. He's had a lot of swings and misses at it. So a good outing. And his fastball's been right there, right around 90, 91. And as you said earlier, he knows how to pitch. He's 34 years old. Been in the big leagues a long time.
Jam job by Reyes, but he'll dump it into left field for a leadoff hit.
The thing about that, that's pretty good hitting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's got to drive you nuts. As a pitcher, make a good pitch in spring training, and a kid fights it off. And that's the 4th Tiger hit. Ronnie Rodriguez bounced out to third base on a bang-bang play that ended the Tigers' second. Let's see what Ron Gardenhire does now in a 2-2 game. And McCarthy delivers a strike.
See some jackets, even a few stocking caps back there in the background. It's a cool night, and as we keep saying, very windy.
Surprised that hat didn't have the mouse ears on it. Might be a Disney violation. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Up the middle, and Dansby can't get it. Ender got to it quickly. Tigers with back-to-back hits have him at first and second with nobody out.
Now batting number 12, Leonis Martin.
And Leonis Martin, who's extended his spring hitting streak to 8 straight games with a leadoff double, stands in with 2 aboard and nobody out.
Getting his signs from longtime Tigers coach Dave Clark. A holdover from the previous staff.
Ball 1 for Martin, a former Texas Ranger and Seattle Mariner. And sporting the Old English D, classic uniform of the Detroit Tigers. And McCarthy's best fastballs missed at 92 miles an hour. 2 balls, no strikes.
Well, he's running his pitch count up a little bit. He's in his 5th inning. Nobody out, needs ground ball. Let's see if he can get one. Fast runner at the plate. Telltale sign of some fatigue with that high curveball.
Let's see if the Tigers turn Martin loose with a 3-0 count. Alexi Amarista waits on deck. He did turn him loose, and Martin had a good cut. 3 balls and a strike. At the knees, full count.
Martin was pretty quick to leave on a 3-1 pitch. It looked like a real good pitch to hit. In fact, it missed location right down the middle.
Was that a slider or a cutter?
Looked like a cutter to me. Boy, he gave up on it rather quickly.
So a full count pitch. Martin protects the plate. Another good cut. First chance to see McCarthy pitch in Braves colors. At first glance, when I see him on the TV screen, he has an uncanny resemblance to Rick Ankiel facially. 3-2. And bounced by the Braves dugout.
I was going to go with Charlie Morton, but I think you're right. Yours is a better call.
Right down the middle, and Martin took it. What a comeback from McCarthy from a 3-0 count to get the strikeout. 9-pitch at bat. And there's the first out. Now he is a ground ball away from getting out of fifth inning trouble.
Good sequence there from McCarthy.
Amarista's 0 for 2. I'd like to avoid Victor Martinez this inning if possible. And strike one's a good way to help that cause. Amarista reached on an error that drove home the first run of the game for the Tigers in the first inning. He flied out to left his last time up. Little ground ball. Rio's got it. Double clutch. There's all the Braves are going to get. And the Tigers will have runners at first and third with 2 outs.
I think the base runner was in his way, Chip.
Number 41.
He had a double pump where his throw might have hit that lead runner, Reyes.
So McCarthy got the ground ball he wanted, but the Braves can't turn the double play. Let's take a look.
Fielded it right in the baseline, and Reyes was ducking, but Rio wouldn't have known that.
So let's see what McCarthy does with Victor Martinez, who's 0 for 2. Right off his knuckles. Out of play. Well, the Tigers hoping that Victor Martinez can stay healthy. They're hoping that Miguel Cabrera can come back from a disappointing 2017 season. If that's the case, the Tigers are going to score their share of runs. Miguel Cabrera's hitting .318 this spring. Victor Martinez entered play tonight at .319 with 5 spring home runs. Little pop. Rio long run near the railing. He can't get there. Trying the over-the-shoulder catch. Tough play. It's 0-2.
It's crazy to think as you watch this effort by Ruiz that Miguel Cabrera hit 16 homers, I think, drove in about 60 or 70 runs. Man, that's a bad year. And how many big leaguers would take it?
Sure. No balls, 2 strikes. Ball in the dirt. Runner's going to head to second. No play for Suzuki. And the count now, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Good base running by Amarista. On a ball in the dirt, wild pitch.
One of the new rules this year is a limit on trips to the mound. So if the pitcher and catcher are having a hard time getting together on signs,
Lined right at Rio.
that's one of those deals we're going to sort it out from afar.
And Adam Ball retires Martinez. McCarthy pitches out of 2 on, nobody out trouble, and Freddie Freeman's coming up.
The legendary
Toyota, let's go places. And by SunTrust.
Crazy night in Orlando. Tigers 2, Braves 2, bottom of the 5th inning. Freddie Freeman, Kurt Suzuki, and Nick Markakis are coming up against Francisco Liriano, who has walked 5, struck out 4 for Detroit tonight. And it's a new look Freddie Freeman, who had LASIK surgery this offseason. Freddie's very excited about the results of that. About his contact lens issues from time to time. He said that is a thing of the past. And this would be the kind of night that would give Freeman some trouble. Dry, cold, and a strong breeze. Bouncing ball into the shift, and Freeman will be retired by Rodriguez, who had him played perfectly. There's the first out. That's something Brian Snitker was talking about before the game tonight. More and more this spring, more and more around Major League Baseball, with the advanced metrics and the defensive metrics that are taking place. 10 years ago, that ball for Freeman's an easy base hit. Now it's an out, as they played the shift perfectly.
Well, I'm told in talking to Brian before the game about what's been offered to the players one by one, showing them what the Braves have compiled in terms of analytics to show, in some cases, shortcomings. As Alex Anthopoulos said, you know, how do you show Ender Inciarte something and say, hey, we think you can be better? Well, it's hard to do when you've already won 2 Gold Gloves, but up and down, everybody has embraced it. And in many cases, the numbers will show a shortcoming. They'll show a hole in your swing in terms of how pitchers are getting you out, or from a defensive alignment standpoint. Everybody has embraced it, and that's a good thing that they are at least seeing what they can do to try to get better.
To third, and that's a boot. And Suzuki's going to reach with 1 out. Goodrum had it, then dropped it. The Braves have a runner aboard here in the 5th.
That quick bat again of Kurt, showing no signs of dropping off from last season.
So Markakis bats. He's singled and scored last time up. Yeah, I would imagine from a player standpoint in this era of the game, unlike when you played, so much more video, so much more scouting, so many more opportunities to see opponents and prepare for the game. You mentioned all the metrics, all the numbers that are available. I mean, there's a stat for just about anything if you want. My question to you as a player is how much of that becomes paralysis by analysis?
It can certainly be overdone, and there are guys who do overdo it. They're trying to go up between at bats and try to see exactly what their swing looked like, how that guy pitched them, or something where instead of just playing the game and making an adjustment tomorrow, they're trying to literally change pitch by pitch, and I think sometimes that's a little too much.
They've had that timed well, but fouled it off. 2 balls and a strike. Liriano approaching his 100th pitch as we are joined downstairs by Braves first baseman Freddie Freeman. A week to go, pal. Ready?
Can't come soon enough.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Toward third. Goodrum, nice play. Backpedaling. The throw to first gets away and into the camera well. And Markakis will be at second base with 2 outs.
At this stage of your career, Freddie, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
1 week to go. What is there for you to do? What are you working on, if anything?
Right now, it's just getting there healthy. The first couple of weeks is where you kind of work on things, try and make the pitchers seem to be 110 when you first go out there, and you got to be able to get them down to their normal speed. But right now, it's just getting the feel, getting your legs under you, and, just getting ready for the season.
Do you hate live BP?
Yeah, it's not fun, especially the first full squad practice, we did live BPs. So before I even saw coaches pitch, I saw live BP. So that was a sight. It looked like a 200 miles an hour that first day.
A lot of bats being broken that day.
Yeah, a lot of misses, foul tips, and a lot of just kind of tracking that day.
How's the wrist? I guess that's a question on everybody's lips in Braves country.
Yeah, my wrist feels great. I've had no problems since about December. I did a lot of strengthening with the wrist this offseason, and that was the main goal, and I feel great. Swing feels very handsy like it normally is, so I feel ready to go.
You've been around enough to have a very analytical eye on people and players that come through here. And aside from Ronald Acuna Jr., who's really opened everybody's eyes, who else has stood out to you?
They're in minor league camp now, but the pitchers, Soroka and Allard, Kyle Wright, they kind of opened some eyes, and Austin Riley did a great job too. So, the guys you've heard about, that besides Ronald Acuna, they really showed and made a great impression this spring training.
Lane Adams is pinch running for the Braves. He's at second in place of Nick Markakis as Preston Tucker, with an RBI double tonight, takes a strike. I've got a very important question. Who'd you give your third base glove to?
It's still sitting in my locker.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, that was interesting, but it was fun. A lot of anxiety went into that, but you never know. So I'm just going to keep that there just in case.
Little pop into center. That's going to be caught, and that's going to retire the side. Freddie, can you stick around for another half inning?
Of course.
Awesome.
Of course.
Great Freddie Freeman will join us for the top of the 6th, tied up 2-2.
All right, baseball fans, great fans.
After 5 in Orlando, Chip and Joe with you. Let's take a look back at the 2017 season for Freddie Freeman. Great numbers in 117 games after Freddie missed 44 after fracturing his wrist. And Freddie, Joe made the point earlier tonight, you were on an MVP type pace last season at the time of your injury. I assume that had to make last season even more frustrating than the fact that the Braves lost 98 games.
Yeah,
or 92 games.
Yeah, that was tough. Obviously, it was kind of something out of my control. But you know, I did have a pretty good season going. But you know, hopefully I can get back to that. You know, obviously that was a pace of statistics that, you know, I don't know if you could withstand that over 162 games, but you know, something close. So hopefully I can get back to that this year.
Well, and you've always taken pride in being out there every day and every inning. So I know that probably is one of your primary goals this year.
Yeah, seeing that play in 117 games really, you know, kind of hurts. You know, I pride myself no matter how I feel to go out there, and you know, unfortunately, it does take something like what happened last year to take me out of the lineup. But you know, this year it's the same goal as every year. Every year is to play 162 games. So hopefully I can stay healthy, and you know, nothing freaky happened this year.
Freddie, we look at the preseason predictions, we look at the farm system rankings, we look at the current roster. We've seen what the Braves have done the last 3-4 years. I know that you've been a part of that. We know about the rebuild. We know about the rebuild of the Braves minor league system. As a player in that locker room, as that one 8 up, Dansby at short. McCann's going to reach to lead off the 6th inning.
It's a nice hop.
That one hurt.
As a player in that locker room who's been a part of all of this, do you personally and does this group collectively see the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel, like the Braves are getting closer to turning a corner here?
Oh yeah, you can almost reach it with your hand now. Obviously the last 3-4 years have been pretty tough. I know it's been tough on the fans. It's also been tough on the guys in this clubhouse, especially for you guys up there calling the games too. So I know everybody wants to get back to winning baseball, and the names you've heard about the last couple of years, you know, they're starting to sprinkle into the big leagues, and a lot of our top prospects are, you know, got their big league camp this year, first one, and they're close. So I think you can pretty much reach it with your hand. So it's going to be an exciting year. We got a lot of young guys that are going to hopefully make a big impact this year, and, you know, hopefully we'll be playing meaningful baseball in September.
This is our first day to be down here, Freddie, and one of the things we noticed right away is the energy going on. You guys are going through situations earlier today before batting practice. There was a little vim and vigor from everybody. How different has this camp been versus others?
It's been real good. You know, obviously Sal and Walt and EY, our new coaches, have brought a lot of energy. It's fun to come to the yard every day, even if it is 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. They make it fun, especially having Wash out there too. So it's been a great group of guys this year. A lot of guys trying to work hard to get this team back to winning baseball, and obviously a great staff, and the front office has put a lot of great guys in here. So, you know, it's been a lot of fun, and we're just looking forward to the season now.
Yeah, the season starts with the Braves playing the Phillies. The first of 9 games the Braves play the Phillies in the first 31 days of the calendar year.
Yeah, they're going to be good too. You know, obviously they got the big horse they signed, so you know, they got a lot of young guys too that made a big impact last year, and I think they're going to be a lot better. So, you know, we had trouble beating them last year, so hopefully we can turn that around this year.
It's almost though maybe a snapshot for you guys in that I don't want to.
Double play ball maybe. There's 1. There's 2. McCarthy gets 2 for the price of 1. 2 outs.
I don't really want to say that the Phillies are ahead of the Braves in their rebuild, but obviously the Phillies feel like they are, signing Santana and now Arrieta, that they feel like they're close enough to be ready to compete. That's got to give you a good feeling knowing that could possibly happen in the near future too.
Yeah, you know, it's we've heard how much money we got coming off the books this year, so you know, I think we're really close. Obviously, they think they're really close too. So, you know, I think the NL East is probably the strongest division there is, especially with starting pitching. It seems like we got a bunch of number ones running around this division. So, you know, they really made a big improvement. You know, they at the last 50, 60 games, they thought they were really close, so they went out and made some big signs. And you know, this division is one of the toughest in baseball. So it's going to be tough year, but I think we can hang.
Have you seen Julio or Fultonevich pitch this spring?
I have.
Awesome.
They've been awesome. Same with McCarthy. Newcomb's been fantastic too. So I think it's going to be a very solid year all around.
Freddie, always a treat. Look forward to seeing you again for our next telecast on Friday and certainly on opening day back in the
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Freddie.
The great Freddie Freeman. We're tied 2-2 after 5.5.
Mark Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Yellowwood, and by SunTrust.
Back at Disney's Wide World of Sports, there's your score, bottom of the 6th inning. The Braves will take a look at another left-hander, not Francisco Liriano, but left-hander Chad Bell, who's on in relief.
There are his numbers for spring training. This will be his 5th outing. Got some big league time in last year, although pretty rough. 0-3 with almost a 7 ERA after he got called up in May.
Dansby broke his bat, rolls to third, 1 pitch, and 1 man out. Liriano, a Liriano-like performance for the Tigers. Joe, as you said, came in with a perfect ERA, gave up 2 runs over 5 innings, 5 walks, 3 strikeouts. Braves cashed in 1 of those walks for their first run tonight.
Did a nice job in the first inning, though. Leaving the bases loaded, getting a couple of strikeouts. Markakis and Tucker.
Scott Kazmar has grabbed the bat. He's on deck. Looks like he'll be pinch hitting for Brandon McCarthy, who pitched great. 6 innings of 1 earned run ball, 2 runs allowed overall. But to have Brandon join us before we say goodnight tonight. Braves are trying to win their 13th game this spring. The Tigers at 9-13. Rio lifts one to left.
Can't find it.
Tuk is there. He found it late.
He was searching.
So it will be Kazmar with 2 outs. Well, this is a very aesthetically pleasing ballpark. There are lights in the outfield here at Disney's Wide World of Sports.
A little bit of twilight out behind the first baseline, though. Might be hard to pick the ball up right now.
So Kazmar takes strike. At 284 in the minor leagues last year. Born in Valdosta. And was the Gwinnett's co-MVP last year with Ozzie Albies after that 284 mark over 99 games last year. Last year was his 5th straight year with Gwinnett. think I said Scott Kazmar. It's Sean Kazmar, I beg your pardon. He's no kid, 33 years of age now.
And still fighting the fight. Give him credit.
And a swing and a miss. Bell rings up Kazmar and works a perfect 6th inning. We'll see if McCarthy can see the Braves pushing in front as we go to the 7th. Spring training schedule doesn't stop in Florida. Don't miss the final spring training game in Atlanta when the Braves take on the Yankees at SunTrust Park Monday, March 26th. That's followed by the Future Stars exhibition game on Tuesday, March 27th. Get your tickets for both games. Go to braves.com/tickets. This is Jose Ramirez. He's had a good spring after a very busy 2017 season that saw him pitch in 68 games. Out of the Braves bullpen. Got wholesale changes along the Atlanta infield. We'll get to those in a moment as Jim Adducci leads off for the Tigers here in the 7th.
Jose really did step in to one of the setup roles and pitched wonderfully. 3.19 ERA, 56 strikeouts, 62 innings.
Oh, 2. And a little low. Braves went through a lot of pitchers last year. They used 11 different starters. They used 19 different relief pitchers. As a swing and a miss takes care of Adduci. And Ramirez with some smoke gets his first man.
That was changeup. That was a beauty. Almost too good a pitch. But it had some good sinking action on it. Go from 95 to 85. That's a pretty good split.
Victor Reyes, the batter. He's 1 for 2. A single last time up. 2-2 game. It's smoked back to the screen. Strike 1. Well, you heard Brian Snitker say the Braves will have Arodys Vizcaino back. He's healthy. Looks like he'll be the closer. He and Jim Johnson were the only 2 Braves with saves last year. Jim now a member of the Angels organization. And then it'll be interesting to see how Brian lines up the rest of his relief corps.
Heard several guys really bragging on A.J. Minter and how well he's pitched this spring. The left-hander. I saw him earlier today, and he said he feels great, which is a good sign.
Sam Freeman hasn't given up a run in his 6 spring outings. I figure he's a lock. As good a job as Sam Freeman did from the left side for the Braves last year. Minter, likewise, 6 1/3 innings of 9 strikeout, 1 walk relief. That's always encouraging. Really excited to hear the Braves have re-signed Peter Moylan.
Yeah.
He's fighting for a bullpen job. He struck out 6 and walked 1 so far in camp.
Yeah, and the runs he gave up, I saw he got squeezed by an umpire on what should have been a strikeout to end an inning. Uh-oh, Lasky's got dinged. Peter made a great pitch, didn't get a call. Turned out to be ball 4, and the next guy hit a homer.
Oh, right on the forearm. On a cold night, heck, on any night, that doesn't feel good. Full count for Reyes. And that's hit toward left. And pretty well hit. But a nice running catch. Handled by Tucker. And Reyes puts charge into 1, but he's retired for out number 2.
That's 2 good plays by Tucker tonight. One going back and then a diving catch coming in that we really didn't get to talk about because we were talking to Alex Anthopoulos at the time. But 2 good plays by a guy who has been, the questions about him have had to do with defense, not his offense.
So you see the defensive changes for the Braves. Valenzuela, Kazmar, Santana, and Charlie Culberson. The new infielders, broken back left side. Long throw. Kazmar made it. Culberson couldn't scoop it. And Ronnie Rodriguez will reach with 2 outs. That'll be the 3rd Braves error of the night. Well, the inning continues for the Tigers. Leonis Martin comes up for the 3rd time. He doubled and scored way back in the 1st inning. That's up and away. 1 ball, no strikes. Braves will head down to Jupiter and face the Cardinals tomorrow afternoon. We're back with you on Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock for another tilt with the Tigers. We'll join you for the Braves and the Yankees on Saturday afternoon. Braves' final game in Central Florida will be on the 25th in Lakeland to play the Tigers. Then they'll head back to Atlanta, get set for the Yankees. And then the Future Stars game on the 27th at SunTrust Park will be both of those games. That'll be a lot of fun. Then we play for real on opening day against the Fightin' Phillies on the 29th.
If you're wondering why the Braves play the Tigers so much, or at least in the next few days, they've already played 3 times. It's because they're just about the closest team, right? Lakeland's about the closest these days to Atlanta, or to Orlando, and the Braves set up here, and one of the reasons why the Braves have been seeking another place for spring training and will have one at Northport for 2020.
Correct. The wild pitch. This one chases Rodriguez to second with 2 outs. RBI chance for Martin. In a tie game here in the 7th. Smashed back our way, and the count is now 2-2. Mention opening day, it'll be Julio Teheran again for Atlanta. Another opening day start for Julio Teheran, and the way he's pitched this spring, You can certainly understand why Brian Snitker went to Julio. Oh, that sounded like a strike. Full count.
Yeah, his 5th straight opening day assignment.
All Julio's done this spring is go 4-0, an 0.87 ERA, 2 earned runs in 20 2/3 innings. Popped up over the seats.
And those 2 runs came, I think, in his last outing when he went into the 7th inning. It was the first time he'd given up any runs.
That's been one of the real great stories of the spring for Atlanta, is how good the starting pitching has been. Tonight, no different. McCarthy, 1 earned run over 6 innings. Mike Foltynewicz with his new look minimum effort windup has not given up an earned run. And the only disappointment for the Braves is Luis Gohara's been hurt. And the Braves are really counting on Gohara to put together a big 2018, but he hasn't been healthy enough to pitch. And Pete Kozma, former Cardinal, grabbed a bat. He's going to come on and pinch hit for Amarista. An error and a walk has 2 Tigers aboard here in the 7th.
Real clean inning for Jose, with the exception of the error that extended it. Strike out, fly out, and got the ground out that would have ended the inning.
Powder River at 96 miles an hour as we broadcast at the 8 o'clock hour.
One name we have not mentioned tonight with respect to the starting rotation and maybe a 5th starter is Anibal Sanchez, that the Braves signed this week and pitched well a couple of days ago in his first outing.
Gave up a couple of runs over 4 innings. Was that Anibal Sanchez pitching for the Tigers that had that 15 or 17 strikeout game against the Braves in Detroit on a dreary, drizzly night?
I did a Rod 1.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yes, it was. He pitched a brilliant game.
Just missed. 3 balls and a strike. Victor Martinez is on deck. So full count. Rodriguez and Martin will get a head start with the payoff pitch coming to Pete Kozma.
Kind of a big league decision type thing right here with a slugger on deck, 2 outs, runner's going to be moving. Do you give him anything to hit, or you try to work on something you've been trying in spring training and use that changeup more?
Well, we're about to find out. And he missed inside. So after the error, back-to-back walks. Loads him up for Victor Martinez. And a mound visit.
Is it 6 a game? Is that the new rule? 6 visits a game? And they're trying to make sure that the teams don't circumvent that by, like sending an infielder in.
Right.
Talk to the pitcher to, in lieu of a pitching coach or a catcher.
And there's actually a mound visit clock on the scoreboard that just trickled down to 0. So Blas Diaz didn't even have to go to the mound and make his way out there to break up the meeting. So it was a brief pointed message from Chuck Hernandez. Let's see what Ramirez can do with Victor Martinez with the bases loaded in the 7th inning. No swing. 1 ball, no strikes.
Gary Cedarstrom now at third base. Spring training, the base umpires usually do a little rotating.
There's a good pitch. That evens up the count. And 1 ball, 1 strike. Victor Martinez, 39 years old now. That doesn't seem possible.
No way.
Lifetime .298 average, 2,036 career hits with the Indians, Red Sox, and the Tigers. Bouncing ball hit to the right side. Ramirez is going to get out of it. The Tigers load him up but leave him stranded. And for the first time this year, it's time to stretch. 2-2 game, Braves and Tigers. Bottom of the 7th inning. Here's your chance, Joe, to brag on Ender Inciarte. We didn't get a chance to do that in the first inning because he made a quick out.
Right. Well, 201 hits, second in the National League, tied for second in that category. And he started hitting at the beginning of the season and just never stopped. What a great year he had. First Brave since Marquise Grissom in 96 to get 200 hits. It's such an accomplishment. And at the same time, put the ball in play. Among the league leaders in strikeouts per at bat. What a season he had.
Well, they'll take aim at Drew Verhagen, a 4th-round pick of the Tigers 6 years ago, a former starter that was moved to the bullpen in 2015. Made the opening day roster for the Tigers in 2016. And as you can see, has had a bit of a rough go in spring training 2018. Out of Royce City, Texas, Drew Verhagen. And this guy's it out of play. A swinging strike. You mentioned those 201 hits for Inciarte. Did that by hitting .341 after the All-Star break for the Braves. And I think he had that 8 for 10 doubleheader day against the Phillies. That certainly helped that average.
Right.
Strike 0-2 for Inciarte.
What's great about it is not only is he a great defensive player, but he's in there every day. He's a left-handed hitter, and left-handed pitchers don't bother him. Doesn't matter.
Didn't mean to and fouled it off. On the board here at Disney, they show that Ender led the Braves with 22 stolen bases last year. You mentioned how many steals the Braves have put together this spring. What an interesting opportunity for Brian Snitker with Inciarte and Albies batting first and second with their speed ahead of Freddie Freeman. The havoc that could create once they get on base on a consistent basis. And that doesn't even count Ronald Acuna, who can also fly.
You know how much I love that. Sure. And I pointed out earlier in the game that the speed will also come into play going first to third on base hits, setting up potential big innings. The quote-unquote analytics these days claim that stolen bases don't lead to that many more runs.
And the risk isn't worth the reward.
The risk is not worth the reward. So a lot of teams are pretty much ignoring whatever speed they have and not running much.
Roller right side. Ender will be out at first.
I contend you can score a lot easier from second than you can from first. So I'm still an advocate, and if you have players that can steal bases and steal with a good percentage, then you certainly want to employ that. And as you said, especially if you're short on power.
That was Alexis Garcia handling the ball at second base for the Tigers. They have a whole new infield we'll tell you about in a moment. Here's Danny Santana, who's had a very impressive spring. And again, with Acuna being sent to the minor league camp, you heard Brian Snitker say there are 3 or 4 guys that are in play for the opening day assignment in left field for Atlanta. Danny Santana is one of them. And tricky hop. Nice play at short. That's Pete Cosmo, big league veteran. And he got his man for the second out. I would think that Santana might have a leg up and then he can switch hit. Get 2 for the price of 1 with Santana, who agreed to a minor league contract with an invite to camp for Atlanta this year and has played himself into serious late spring training consideration for a job on the 25-man roster.
He was playing just fine for the Braves and doing a good job until he suffered a leg injury. Remember, he missed the last month.
It's like a staph infection or something, wasn't it?
I don't recall. I have to look it up, but it was something that knocked him out for a month and pretty much, I'll say, ruined what had been a real good season after the Braves got him from the Twins.
This is Charlie Culberson.
Love this guy. He was included in that deal that sent Matt Kemp to the Dodgers when the Braves took Gonzalez, McCarthy, Kazmir, and got Culberson in that deal too. All this guy did as a utility player was save the Dodgers bacon in the National League Championship Series when they had to take Seager off the roster because of his elbow trouble. Culberson steps in, hits .500 in the series, 4 extra base hits, and played great at shortstop.
And he's a local kid. Born in Rome, lives in Marietta. And has set a new National League record for the most times being mistaken for Dansby Swanson, which...
Oh, no question.
Out of Calhoun High School. Baseball runs in his blood. His granddad Leon played in the big leagues with the Red Sox and Senators in the 1940s. And his dad was drafted by the Giants. And he swings and misses. And a 1-2-3 for Verhagen sends us to the 8th inning. We're still tied 2 apiece. promotional schedule is out with great events, ticket packs, and giveaways all year long, like the Enter NCR Gold Glove bobblehead, the Ozzy Calrissian Star Wars bobblehead, 2 Chipper Jones Hall of Fame giveaways, and more. Go to Braves.com/promotions for a full list of events and giveaways throughout the 2018 season. Speaking of Chipper Jones, it was Chipper Jones Day today in the state of Georgia. Governor Nathan Deal signed that proclamation today, and that's certainly understandable. Chipper Jones on his way to the Hall of Fame here in 2018.
How about that? Isn't that great? He also said something to the effect of, I guess he let the cat out of the bag. He and his wife are having a baby, another son.
Named?
And he's going to name him Cooper for Cooperstown.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Chipper and Taylor, congratulations. Can't wait to see you all in Atlanta.
He's going to have a full field of players before long.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So congratulations. That's terrific. As Peter Moylan grabs the baseball for the Braves. Boy, it's great to see Peter back in a Braves uniform.
Led the American League in appearances last year with Kansas City.
This is where it all began for Moylan. You might recall pitching for Team Australia in the World Baseball Classic. The Braves saw this guy pitch, throwing in the 90s, mid-90s, and signed him. And he made his way through the system and debuted in 2006 with Atlanta. Remember, he was a Minnesota Twins farmhand, was out of professional baseball after the 1997 season. Went back to Australia, was a pharmaceutical sales representative, and was playing pickup baseball for all intents and purposes, and was scouted by the Australian national team. Said, hey, why don't you come pitch for us? We need somebody to get some outs. And came to Orlando, and the Braves saw him and signed him to a minor league contract in 2006, and has pitched a lot of games and a lot of effective games in the major leagues by doing that. The low three-quarter sidearm delivery and that sinking action from Moylan has been his bread and butter for a long time.
And he gets a big league hitter out. Sometimes you get late in a spring training game, you're facing guys that are wearing real big numbers and playing an A-ball, but not James McCann. That's not one of them. Peter's been through his share of injuries too, elbow surgery, shoulder problems, and has weathered all those storms.
And you know that WBC game or appearance, I should say, for Moylan, it was no fluke. I didn't realize this. He had an outing against Venezuela in the WBC way back when. He struck out 4 guys in an inning, or in the outing, I should say. Those 4 guys, 3 of them were Bobby Abreu, Marco Scutero, and Maglio Ordonez. Huh.
But the pitch before that one was 89. So even if you go up there thinking you're just going to get a sinker or a lollipop curveball, he can, if you're looking soft, he can zip one by you too.
2 balls and a strike for Anthony Pereira. Swing and a miss. And you heard Brian Snitker say earlier, this is still a very young Braves team with a lot of youngsters on their way from the minor leagues, especially in the pitching staff. Having a guy like Peter Moylan, his sense of humor, his idea of how a clubhouse in the major leagues ought to operate has to be invaluable for a major league manager or a pitching coach for that matter. And when he throws strikes, that makes it easier for everybody. 2 of the Tigers have been struck out by Moylan already.
And not just that, Chip, but knowing the Braves' way of doing things. You know, learning what it takes to be a big leaguer under the likes of Bobby Cox. And knowing that when he comes in here, how things are expected to be handled. What's expected of you as a player.
This is Cam Gibson for Detroit. And a squibber hit to the left side. Long throw from third. And Peter Moylan, a 1-2-3 8th inning. Welcome back, Mr. Moylan. He looks to be ready to go. We're still tied. is nothing like April in the ATL when the best of Atlanta sports are all in one place. It's Hawks, Braves, and Atlanta United coming soon to Fox Sports South and Fox Sports Southeast. April in the ATL is presented by Advance Auto Parts.
You can't beat fun on the old berm, whether you've got a hood on or not.
Bottom of the 8th inning. This is Warwick Saupold out of Perth, Australia, another veteran of the WBC, and it saw some time with the Tigers last year. He'll start off with Kurt Suzuki for Atlanta. Suzuki, and then we'll see. It's popped out of play foul.
Well, Kurt's gone the distance tonight.
You ever been to Australia?
I have not.
Is it on the list?
Yeah, it's not high on the list.
No?
But yeah.
I'd love to go there. I'd love to. Suzuki pops one into straightaway center. Martin should have no trouble. And he didn't, because that's not him. Old number 92 made a great play for the first out of the 8th inning.
That's Troy Montgomery.
Okay, thanks, Joe Montgomery.
Warwick. I wonder if there's ever been another major league player whose first name was Warwick.
Pretty good chance that that's a negative. Adams fouls it back.
There was an outfielder in the Astros organization for years, way back, named Carl Warwick. But that was his last name.
Well, maybe Mr. Saupold was known for the former Astros stars. Lane Adams digs in and is behind 0-2. Adams has had 46 at bats and he has struck out 19 of them.
See, I don't know. This is one of those cases where Lane did such a good job for the Braves last year in 109 at bats, 5 homers, 20 RBIs, a couple of game-winning hits. I mean, he was solid coming into camp as, you know, a backup player. But he started going through some swing changes, started trying to alter what he was already good at, and it has not projected well here with all these strikeouts. So I don't understand. You know, I get all this launch angle and everything, and hearing about the success other players are having with certain hitting instructors. That doesn't always play for you. You know, it doesn't mean you can go and have the same thing happen for you.
I wouldn't presume to tell Lane Adams how to hit, much less whether he needs to worry about launch angle or not. But he doesn't seem to be, Joe, a guy that this team's counting on to hit 15 or 20 home runs. He's a guy that line drive hitter, get on base, steal some bases, and catch everything, right?
Can run like a deer, can play any of the outfield positions, pinch run, steal a base. But he's put himself really on the bubble because of a poor spring at the plate, largely because he's made some swing adjustments that haven't gone well.
And he's battled back to a full count, and he draws a walk. So Adams is aboard with one man down. Let's see if those wheels are in motion in a tie game here in the 8th. Braves have gotten their share of walks tonight. The Tigers have issued 6 of them. 5 came from Francisco Liriano, who gave up just 2 runs despite being wild over his 5 innings. There's Preston Tucker. He scalded the ball twice tonight. Once for an RBI double back in the 3rd, so he's 1 for 3. Adams has a good lead. Braves with 23 stolen bases this spring. And Adams started, then stopped. Ball 1. And I'm with you on the stolen base thing. I grew up watching the St. Louis Cardinals and Vince Coleman and Willie McGee and those guys running like crazy on the AstroTurf. It is such an exciting brand of ball. This would be a perfect time for Adams to add to the Braves team total.
It's not just the success you get from stealing a base. It's also from the pressure you put on the defense to try to anticipate when you're going to run. being out of position, trying to the catcher and pitcher play the cat and mouse game, pitching out, what have you, that puts the defense on edge.
It's almost a lost art in the game. Wouldn't you agree?
Kind of like bunting. Yeah, in many ways. I forget what the stolen base the major league leader was last year. It was like 40-some. It was like one of the lowest totals ever.
1 ball, no strikes. There goes Lane. Pitches a ball and dropped behind the plate. So Adams with a stolen base. And a go-ahead run in scoring position for Atlanta here in inning number 8.
Runs about as well as any guy his size in baseball.
So let's see if your old adage is right. Let's see if it is easier to score from second base for Atlanta with Tucker up there. And ahead in the count 2-0. Sharply hit right field. There's a single. Here comes Adams to third. Washington's going to wave him. Ball dropped. Atlanta leads on an RBI from Preston Tucker, and Atlanta's up 3-2. The walk, the steal, and the rope on a 2-0 count.
And the pressure on the defense with a guy who might score the go-ahead run forces the right fielder in this case to maybe rush himself, overcharge the ball, and boot it. But he knew he didn't have any time for waiting for the ball to get him. He had to charge it to try to get Lane Adams. That's what it does for you.
So the Braves take the lead in the 8th. And Tyler Neslony is coming up. His second at bat in these Major League spring training games. A sloppy late spring training game. 6 combined errors tonight. 3 each by the Tigers and Braves.
But even above all that, another solid piece of hitting by Tucker. Looks good.
So 2 more RBIs for Preston. And Arodys Vizcaino's up in the Braves pen. He's going to have a chance to close it out in the 9th. At the bottom part of the Tigers' order schedule. Yeah, it's pulled foul, even count. At 2-2. Luis Valenzuela's on deck. If Neslony can reach. And a full count. Swing and a miss. Either a slider or a cutter, whatever it was really biting in on the hands of the left-hand hitter. And there's the second out.
Yeah, looked like a cutter, a good one.
So Luis Valenzuela. What a thrill it's got to be for guys like Neslony and Valenzuela to get a chance in late spring, come up and get in a big league game. A ground ball to third, pulls the first baseman off the bag, but a nice effort by Huffman to save an error. And that retires the side. Braves cash in a walk, a steal, and a base hit by Preston Tucker to take a 9th inning lead.
The legendary.
From spring trainings, always live with MLB at Bat. The app will keep you connected every day with live radio calls, video highlights, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB at Bat now. It's your #1 Atlanta app. There's your score. We head to the 9th inning. Arodys Vizcaíno is going to come on and try to make a winner of Peter Moylan tonight.
Given up a few runs so far in his 7 games that he's been out there. Only a couple of strikeouts in his 7 innings. That's a little unusual for him. But as Brian Snitker said, it's about health. And so far so good on that side of things for Arodys.
A right index finger strain cost him 11 games on the disabled list midway through the year last year. Still, Vizcaíno pitched in 62 games and finished the year as the Braves closer over the final 2 months. Took over that role on July 30th. Was 12 out of 13 once he took over for Jim Johnson. Two balls and a strike for Chad Huffman on a 98-mile-an-hour fastball.
Talking about those players that get brought over from the minor league camp, or in the Tigers case, you get to come on the bus over here with a chance of getting in. The nice thing is that early in camp, especially once those players get in a game, they go back to the minor league camp. They tell everybody, hey, if you get sent over there, there's a good chance you're going to get in the game. So it's pretty exciting.
Don't walk him, Arodys. 3 balls and a strike. And Huffman pops it into shallow right. And it is caught. What a grab. Danny Santana, ranging from pillar to post, made that catch in shallow right field. Yeah, you better applaud that effort.
Good grief, did he go a long way for that. Nessaloni looked like he didn't see it right away. Plus, he was playing extremely deep in the 9th inning with a 1-run lead. What a play by Santana. Mercy.
Troy Montgomery, the hitter. 1 out in the 9th. Sure, it's fun for Vizcaino in the spring to finally get a chance to, or actually get a chance to save a game in traditional fashion. Many times managers Montgomery lifts one toward left. Tucker is there, makes the grab, 2 outs. Because you don't know how the game's going to play out in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, oftentimes a manager will pitch his closer in the 5th inning, say, early in the spring, with the game not on the line, just to get him some work. So, let's say, regular assignment for Vizcaino, and so far so good. He's got the first 2 outs. The Braves are 1 away from their 13th win this spring. And Alexis Garcia is the man that stands in the way. Off speed, strike 1. One more of those ought about do it.
You got to feel like Aroldis going into the season knowing he's the closer is going to do a lot for his confidence. Knowing he's the guy.
One ball, 2 strikes for Alexis Garcia. Little late.
Nice to see they've extended the netting here at Champion Stadium, like so many other places around baseball. And good to see it happening in the major leagues too. That was a case in point. It was good that it was up.
Braves and Cardinals from Jupiter tomorrow. Braves and Tigers back here in Disney on Friday. Braves and Yankees here at Disney on Saturday. Joe and I will join you for those games, as well as the Braves and the Yankees at SunTrust Park. And a bounding ball foul at first. It'll be a treat to see the Yankees twice in spring training with all the news they made this offseason. Of course, the manager and Aaron Boone, and of course, Giancarlo Stanton joining Aaron Judge and the rest of those young Yankee sluggers.
Yeah, a lot of odd names. I don't think Aaron Boone was that odd a choice. But a lot of odd names that came out as first-year managers in some clubs that are contending teams.
About a piece of Kurt Suzuki, who, as you said, has been an Iron Man behind the plate. Kind of wishes he had the rest of the night off before that pitch.
Hung around for 9 innings to get that foul tip. We heard in spring training too.
Foul past third. Garcia's putting up a fight. Count. So the pitch of decision for Vizcaino versus Garcia. He will have seen 10 pitches. And it's rolled towards second. Santana's got it. And the Braves have beaten the Tigers. 3-2 your final score. Peter Moylan gets the win. Aroldis Vizcaino the save. Big night tonight for Preston Tucker, who had a couple of RBIs with his 2 hits in 4 tries. 6,233 the paid crowd. Joe and I will say goodnight after one more timeout.